Is Britain being colonised? Well, as you know, I like to get out and about and meet real people, and today I've been out in Southall, London, one of the most ethnically diverse places in Britain, to ask what they thought of Sir Jim Ratcliffe's comments. Being colonised. Those are the now infamous words of Sir Ratcliffe, of course, co-owner of Manchester United, who made that statement earlier this week. Well, I'm here in Southall today, in London, which is one of the most ethnically diverse parts of the country. Only 2 to 3% of the people here are white British. 64% of people, or 2/3, were born outside of the UK, and it's got a very large Asian population. So I'm going to be asking them to see what they think of Sir Ratcliffe's comments. I'm going to be asking them whether they think he should apologise, or perhaps they might agree with him. Let's find out. You've heard Sir Jim Ratcliffe's comments. He says that Britain's being colonised because of too much immigration coming into the country. What do you think of those comments?
I don't think so that these comments are correct, because you can see around here, because many businesses, most immigrants contribute in the economy. So they are running most businesses, they are doing most technical, difficult jobs for the British. If you minus these immigrants, do you think that this country will run with the just British?
He's had a view, and obviously, like, maybe he's got the numbers wrong. Maybe if he sort of come out in a sort of like a bit different way, sort of maybe everyone sort of could understand what he's trying to say. Maybe sort of got the timing wrong, the words wrong, the numbers wrong. But I mean, he's got a bit of a point. But I don't know if he said it in sort of a way that he wanted to sort of hurt people's feelings or something like that. Maybe it must have been a forced apology. He shouldn't have apologised. But I mean, at the end of the day, we can all sort of like get together, sort of like speak it out, and then sort of just take it from there, rather than sort of getting in each other's back.
I'm an immigrant myself, but I'm a skilled immigrant, okay, and I think I've contributed to the economy. But I really think what he's saying is right, because I don't think immigration is really being monitored, and we have all sorts of people coming in without any skills, without anything, and that's causing a lot of taxes for the people who are really working hard to make ends meet. And we can't even afford to buy things now or live comfortably. I think Ratcliffe is absolutely right. You know, I think he's just being honest, and I don't see anything wrong in being honest.
Do you think he should have apologised? Because he has apologised now.
I don't think he should have. England belongs to the English, if I should say. And if we do come to this country, we should be skilled labour, you know. And it's right. I mean, there's nothing wrong with immigrants if they contribute to society.
The government need to create more and more opportunities for legal immigrants. They need to stop the illegal immigrants, and also they need to, if anybody come to here in this country legally, so government need to appreciate the people who came to here legally, because if anybody will come here, definitely he will do something, work, business, like he will invest and he will do some skilled jobs here, and definitely in the return they will give taxes to the government.
Do you think there's too many immigrants coming to Britain?
Yeah, sure. There is no doubt that in this country, all the immigrants from the different countries, you can't believe some of the countries I never hear. When I come, then I come to know, oh really, these countries exist? And this kind of people, even I can experience, like when you go out from the Southall, you will see in the buses so many immigrants that you can't understand their languages. You can't know which country they are. So I think as compared to other countries, these countries have a lot of immigrants. So there is no doubt, yeah.
Jim Ratcliffe, Sir Jim Ratcliffe, he co-owns Manchester United, the football club, big football club, right?
Yeah.
This week, he said Britain's being colonised because he thinks there's too much immigration coming into the country. Do you think he's right?
Of course it's not right.
Is it offensive?
It is, because, you know, immigrants also build this country. You know I don't have anything against English people, honestly, but you can't find them cleaning the houses, working in warehouses for a minimum wage. It's immigrants who is doing this. There are some people who are ashamed because they don't do nothing. They came just here to claim benefits. I know there are people, but there are many immigrants that work really, really hard.
All right, there you have it. Very interesting, isn't it? Just before we get into the debate, let's just remind ourselves of Sir Jim Ratcliffe's apology. He said, I'm sorry that my choice of language has offended some people in the UK and Europe, but it's important to raise the issue of controlled and well-managed immigration. All right, well, I've got my fantastic...
There's nothing more important than keeping you and your loved ones safe online. With so many VPN options available, choosing the right one can be pretty daunting. And with their Valentine's Day sale, this video's sponsor, ExpressVPN, is making the choice easier for GB News viewers. It's the easiest way to stay safe online, protect your money, and save big for less than £2 a month. Click the link in the video's description or scan the QR code today.
Got my fantastic panel here with me, geopolitical strategist and SDP Foreign Affairs spokesman Henry Bolton, former Conservative MP Jane Stevenson, and former Labour Party advisor Paul Richards. Let's get cracking. I thought this was fascinating, Henry, because I honestly went there with fully expecting everyone to be offended. And a lot of those people, many of them legal migrants, said, he's right, he never should have apologised. What do you make of that?
On the apology, I think it's up to him. I think what he was doing in that interview was applying a subjective observation. And he sort of termed it, what he saw, what he observes, what he sees as colonisation. And I think what he didn't mean to do was be offensive towards anybody. There was a sort of political backlash, not a public backlash so much, a political backlash from certain quarters, saying this was outrageous, and some in the media. And I think he just felt, well, OK, I didn't mean to offend anybody, so he's apologised, hence the choice of language, not what he's observed.
Yes, correct.
And I think then there is the question is he right? And I think, actually, I believe he is. And it's not colonisation from the point of view of a foreign nation trying to turn Britain into a colony. But what is undoubtedly happening, as I mentioned earlier in the programme, is sectarianism has come into British politics. Sectarianism has entered British society, and it's based on culture and religion that has been imported from abroad. And we are being expected, largely by English people on the left of politics, to step aside to accommodate those foreign cultures. And that, to my mind, has the same effect as colonisation, even if it's not called colonisation. And when I was a district governor in Kosovo, both the United Nations and NATO termed this precise behaviour and sort of dynamic as cultural displacement.
Interesting. Very
and that's
interesting.
the term that I've used many times to refer to this. If one culture is being expected to move aside to accommodate, and it is moving aside because you cannot have, for example, both operating in one society, one community, then you've got to move aside. And the final thing on that, sectarianism is not benign. It is anti-democratic by definition.
Yeah, indeed, it is.
No, I agree.
Jane, I'll come to you on this. A few things to pick up on what they said there. A few of them pointed to British people not wanting to do certain jobs. Yeah. One of the ladies I interviewed said, you don't see English people in warehouses cleaning homes.
Well, I think
is that their fault? Is that English people's fault, or is it the fact that wages have been suppressed, therefore those jobs are not attractive?
I think that's a very London comment, because if you came to Wolverhampton, lots of people are doing very ordinary jobs. So I think that's specific to London, because it's just there's so many foreign people in London now. But I think Jim Ratcliffe's comments, most of what he said, I would agree with. I think the word colonised is so sensitive and evocative of something bigger than he wanted to say.
People think of empire, don't they?
When he got his dates wrong, but since millennium, we have increased the population of this country by 20%.
Yes, it's a lot.
That is a lot. And if you think about infrastructure, housing, roads, everything, it is too many people. There is a slow, natural pace of immigration. And I'm from a very multicultural city, Wolverhampton. We've got a big Sikh population, a big West Indian population that have been there for 60, 70 years. And because of the pace, we're slow and measured. No one has an issue, but I do see more racial tension than I have since I was a child, because of the numbers, and people are scared, people are worried, and the public service is being pressed too hard. And of course, the chap who made me laugh when he went, everybody is making a business, everybody's doing this. Sadly, we know that isn't the case.
Well, this is the fascinating thing about Southall. It actually has a far higher rate. I think it's at least double higher benefit claimant count in Southall. It's also, Paul, I'll put this to you, it's only in some wards it's between 2 and 3% white British. Now, when Jim Ratcliffe says something like Britain's being colonised because there's too many immigrants, I think Southall might be a good example of what he's talking about. When the British population no longer exists there, the culture disappears. There's actually one of the things you see as you walk down the Broadway there in Southall is a church that's closed since 2013, and it's very striking. It's just an empty building there. And that's what people will say. They'll go, well, if integration had worked and immigrants had moved to the country, then surely these churches would still be running. You'd see pubs open, and that isn't the case, is it?
I mean, there's a lot to unpick there, isn't there? I mean, a lot of the new churches that are opening up are Africans who are coming, evangelical Christians opening up new churches, so there is that shift. I mean, Southall, I think, is the opposite argument, actually, because of the people you interviewed there were going to be second, third generation of people who came from predominantly...
Well, 60% of the people who... two-thirds are foreign-born, actually, so that's not quite the case.
But a lot of them will be people that came in the 60s and 70s, came to work here, came to work in the transport system, in the airport, particularly Heathrow, and so on. And they're the ones who are saying, yeah, immigration's going too far. But they're the ones who have assimilated. And so actually they make the argument that you can. On Ratcliffe, I mean, he's a migrant, isn't he? He's migrated off to Monaco to avoid paying his taxes in this country. He's a massive tax dodger. And he's also run United into the ground as well. And you know, you're saying about Southall having about 60%. Do you know what has 70% migrants? The United squad, that's what. And without them...
You're just proving the point of Sir Jim Ratcliffe, though, right?
No, I'm not. I'm saying the migrants come and do a good job.
It should be a British team full of British players, but it's not because of migrants. I hate that argument because it just reinforces what Sir Jim Ratcliffe said.
We all know immigrants who are fantastic.
The Premiership would be a disaster without all the foreign players.
Let's bring Henry back in. Go on, Henry.
It's not... this isn't a discussion about whether migrants contribute to society or whether they don't. That's a different subject. I mean, you know, migrants contribute massively to the economy in Dubai. You know, so but it's got a very different culture. What we're talking about here, and I think what Sir Jim Ratcliffe was referring to, is what I was talking about earlier, which is the fact that the British culture is being displaced by imported cultures.
But it's not, though, is it?
It is.
No,
it is.
His numbers were wrong.
Hang on, let me speak. Let me speak. Hang on, Paul. The one of the women I interviewed there, who was an immigrant herself, said she gets on a bus and she can't even understand people on the bus because there's too many different languages being spoken. That's not assimilation. That isn't integration. Everyone who comes to this country should be using the common tongue and the native tongue of this country, English.
They should.
But this is what.
And the first generation that comes here, whether it's you know from down the ages, from the Huguenots onwards, uses their own language at home. Then they learn English, and the second generation speaks English.
But why would you need to do that if your entire area around you, the people are vastly one culture, you wouldn't do it, would you?
But they do. In every generation, this is what happens.
But a great many of the the people who've been sort of Islamicised, fundamentalised, radicalised. Thank you very much. It's late in the radicalised are second generation because they have a confused identity. Their parents were born somewhere else, so they're sort of they've got a strong association with Pakistan or wherever it might be, but they're also living the English life, and they're trying to conflate those two things, which is very, very difficult.
Well, we're talking about language. They speak English,
but speaking English is not a cultural. It's not be end all of culture. What we are seeing is sectarianism, and try and deny this, Paul. We are seeing sectarianism in local government. That is not British culture, it's not British way of life, it's not British politics, it's not British administration. We are seeing churches being taken over and other centres such as old cinemas. Yes, it's good that they're used, but we're seeing them used and being used as centres for Islam. The fact of the matter is that areas of cultural identity that are associated with British culture are, to an extent, being taken over by foreign cultures. The idea, for example, mosques in the Lake District. You know, that is, whether you like it or whether you don't, that is an importation of a foreign culture that is largely displacing our own.
All right.
And I think you'll find the majority of people that you talk to in public
Funnily
would
enough,
agree.
I was in Carlisle 2 days ago, and we were talking about the local mosque. It's a tiny mosque serving a very small number of people who happen to be worshipping Islam. Now, that is not displacing anything. It's just people being allowed freedom of religion.
We talked about that earlier.
We are allowed
All right,
freedom of
let's not
religion.
talk over each other because the audience doesn't like it. All right.
Okay.
Go on. You haven't said. Give me the
No, I was
final
going to say
word.
the pace. I'm interested if Paul thinks that increasing the population by 20% in 25 years.
It needs managing, of
too
course,
much.
but the British population has always gone up throughout history.
But not by 20% in 25 years. That is a massive leap.
What do you think happened in the mid-century?
Well, Paul, I will say, I think this is,
population's always gone up.
unfortunately, I think you're out of touch and out of step with the British public. Even legal migrants think it is too high, and they especially are very angry legal migrants. And I speak to them in Whitechapel, I speak to them in Southall. They tell me they're very angry about illegal migration, particularly the ones who come in through legal routes. But listen, we haven't got time to discuss this much longer, unfortunately, because we've got a great British giveaway to give you. It's £10,000 luxury holiday for two, 30 grand in tax-free cash. Here's Hayley Sparks with all the details.